What you're looking at right now is the tributes that are coming in for George Michael. They've been increasing throughout the day. A lot of them, very heartfelt messages about this man who had such an impact on a lot of people. Some of the things that we're hearing is that his music and also his message of inclusiveness has been really popular, but people here are shocked about what has happened, about this 53-year-old man who died all of a sudden. We're hearing from his manager from heart failure, but fans are coming in. For many people here, this was the soundtrack of their youth, growing up listening to his music. And so we've been able to talk to quite a few people here. I'm Ian Lee from CNN, and just the message that some people are telling us is that they wanted to tell them how much their music or his music meant to them, and that his voice and really sharing this music also with their children. A lot of kids here today too, and their parents teaching them about George Michael. So I do have some questions from you that I'm going to answer. What do we know about how he died? Well, we know that he died at his estate in Goring, which is in central England. There's not a lot of details right now about what happened. We're hearing from his manager that it was heart failure. The police have said that they don't believe there was anything suspicious, but there is going to be an autopsy to figure out how exactly he died. Any plans for new music? Actually, he announced earlier this month that he was working on a new record with Naughty Boy, a producer. They were going to collaborate. There was a lot of excitement around this collaboration. Also, there was talks about a documentary, and we don't know how much of that new music was created or where that documentary stands right now. And a lot of people were really looking forward to this new music. This is someone, George Michael sold over 100 million albums in the height of his career in the 80s. He was selling more than Michael Jackson, selling more than Prince at the time. This is someone who really left a mark. Let's see. What have people been saying? Tribute to what are they saying about him? I think the one thing that everyone is saying is that how much his music meant to them. And when you're growing up in the 80s, it was very difficult not to hear a George Michael song on the radio. And so, talking to the people, and as you can look around, there are quite a few people here to pay their respects to him, just saying how his music, his voice, his heavenly voice has been described to me quite often. They said it was just something that they always enjoyed listening to, and they still enjoyed listening to. People who had been to almost every concert, some real diehard fans here, people also coming just to stand quietly here and in front of this memorial, just reflecting on him as a musician. One thing also about George Michael is that he wasn't just a great musician, but he was also a strong advocate for the LGBT community, also a strong advocate for AIDS awareness. And a fact about him also, he was a pioneer, someone who in 1985 went to China, was the first pop group there, to the envy of the Rolling Stones and Queen. He performed in China, and that was really groundbreaking. Oh, here's another question. What about people paying tribute to his activism as well as his life? And that is the thing too, we just touched on is that activism. Someone who also was a philanthropist, very quiet about the money he gave away at times too, but someone who was very active in this community. And actually, when you're talking to people here, some people knew him. He was not a stranger to the neighborhood he lived in. People had personal stories about him coming into their shops, talking to them. When you hear about a celebrity, you may be a fan of a celebrity, and when you meet them, at times people can be disappointed. Well, that wasn't the case with George Michael. Everyone we talked to who met with him said that he was a stand-up person, a real class act. See, can we look at the flowers? Sure, come on over. We can give you some of the the flowers and the tributes here, and I can kind of read some of these for you. One says, "Last Christmas you gave us your heart, we give you ours this Christmas." Another says, "You will always be our idol, rest in peace." Then one in the distance says, "Dear George, you'll be greatly missed, always a fan, rest in peace. My thoughts are with your family and friends." And a lot of them are signed personally. Love Steve, love Carolyn. These are fans who felt like they personally knew him, and he liked to have that relationship with his fans. He was very approachable. Do people feel exhausted at the sheer amount of celebrity deaths? I think everyone here is talking not only about George Michael, but you had Prince, you had Leonard Cohen, you had David Bowie died this year. A lot of people are saying that they would like to see 2016 end because it's just been a tragic year for the music industry in general, with all these legends passing away. A lot of them are unexpected too, which makes it just even more tragic that a lot of these great musicians die so young. One thing about George Michael too is that he wasn't just a singer, someone with a good voice. He was a true musician. He produced, he wrote his own music. Also, he collaborated with some of the greats. And this is a man who could cross genres as well, which is also very difficult, and stay relevant. Are there any plans for a tribute concert? I think it's a bit early. I'm sure there's going to be a tribute concert. He died less than 24 hours ago on Christmas Day. The police emergency services were sent to his house at 2 p.m. local time here in England. And so there is a lot of mourning right now, but I'm sure there'll probably be some sort of tribute going forward. Has Andrew Ridgeley commented? Yes, of course. Just, sad. This is someone he worked closely with, and for people who don't know, Andrew Ridgeley was his co-founding member of Wham. They were childhood friends. Wham was that great band in the 80s, that pop band that blew everyone away with their music, and so he is obviously devastated by this news as well. And I think when you do have something like this where it is what we're hearing, heart failure, it's just so sudden that people are just trying to adjust this. We've also heard from other celebrities like Madonna. We've heard from Ellen. And I'll read some of these to you. We have one from Ellen DeGeneres said, "I just heard about my friend at George Michael's death. He was such a brilliant talent. I'm so sad." And then you have George Takei, who's famous for Star Trek, saying, "Rest with the glittering stars, George Michael. You've found your freedom, your faith. It was your last Christmas, and we shall miss you." So a lot of tributes, not only just coming from people here, but also celebrities and his peers, people who, big rock legends, also paying their respects. And then, 80 stars paying their tribute. Another question. Madonna also coming out and saying that he will be missed. Elton John also paying tribute to this legend. So again, really, his peers are coming out. How many people have left flowers? That we've been seeing people all day coming in and leaving flowers. And here you can see some more people coming in. It really has been a line of people paying their respects all day, and you have right here more people coming in, lighting candles too, leaving personal messages. A man earlier today coming in, leaving some balloons. Just a steady stream all day, what we have. Let's see if we have another question here. Okay, here we go. We have one about George Michael. What does this mean now going forward? I think he had that musical, or that new album he was going to record. So unfortunately, unless they've already recorded some music, maybe something will come out of that as far as new music goes. But we haven't heard anything there. So more messages. It is kind of crowded, so I don't know how close we can get. We have these two cars kind of blocking the area. but let's see if we can read any more of them. Basically, a lot of them just say that we miss you. And again, this is someone who was the soundtrack for many people's lives growing up in the 80s. His music resonated with so many. So you do have these just outpouring of grief of people who say that they'll always remember him, and just continue listening to his music and have him continue to be an inspiration. The one thing about him that people are talking about is how inclusive he was, how he talked about bringing people together. And for a lot of people who are upset about what happened in 2016, all the deaths, they say that his music does give them hope about, if people were to listen to it, that they can come together as well. One thing for me, listening to George Michael's music growing up, Faith was probably the song that resonated the most with me. And I was talking to a father and his two sons being 9 and 11, and asked him, what does George Michael mean to a 9 and 11-year-old? And they said, yesterday we were listening to his song Last Christmas, and we didn't know that he was dead, and so they were quite sad about that. And I asked them, how does music today compare to music in the 80s? And they told me that music in the 80s was better, that they had better voices, better performers, better music, which, coming from a 9 and 11-year-old, probably had their father's influence there. But we have seen quite a wide range of generations coming here to pay their respects and say goodbye to this music legend. I'm just going to leave you now with the sights of the tributes.